Hi, Timothy Carlson here, and I've just covered some of Gerry Anderson's work on this channel by looking at some Blu-rays of Thunderbirds. I also found out that some of his other titles in the Supermarionation format that he did are available as imports. Several of these, including Stingray, Captain Scarlet, and Terrahawks, are available as region A, B, and C discs. But from what I'm seeing online, some of the other ones, the earlier ones, are supposedly region B locked. That brings us to the subject of today's video. This is Supercar, the complete series. Gerry Anderson had made series prior to this, including the Western-themed Four Feather Falls, but this was probably the first real TV series in his sort of sci-fi auteur that he became famous for. So I'm going to unbox this release and share my opinions. But of course, before we get down to business, we've got to test this out and see if it'll actually work in our Region A 4K player. Now, I've read online that this and the Fireball XL5 set are both listed as being Region B locked, but they've been apparently working on some people's players, like the Region B notice will fade away. So let's try this out before we get on with this review and see what happens. I am using a Sony 4K player for this test, although I also have a Panasonic 820 downstairs and I've used that as well. So here's disc one. We're going to put it in the player and see what happens. Warning, this disc will only play in Region B. They said we just wait a second and that should disappear in play. And there we go. It loaded up just fine. So we'll select an episode. Fast forward a little, just make sure it plays. It appears to play just fine. Now we have disc 2, we'll pop it in. Same deal here, we get our Region B warning. We'll just wait a few seconds again. And there it goes, and there's our title screen. Seems to be working fine. Now we have disc 3. Okay, we're putting disc 3 in the player. Same deal here. Once again, we have our Region B warning, but we'll just wait a few seconds. And there we go. There's our title screen. Now we just have disc 4 to go, so let's see if the hot streak continues. Okay, we put disc 4 in the player. There is our Region B warning. It's fading away, but what is this? The Region B warning faded back in. That's certainly not something I was expecting. Well, why don't we try out the remote and see what happens? I'm just going to hit the top menu button and see if by some chance that works. What do you know? It worked. Top menu button worked. So every disc in here plays fine. You just have to hit top menu on disc 4. The other ones all play fine. And like I said too, I've tried this on my Panasonic as well. Same deal. So here's our cover art. You got the titular vehicle there, and you got the core cast there. Mike Mercury, Professor Popkiss, Dr. Beaker, Mitch the Monkey, and Jimmy. Inside the front cover we have an episode list. Disc 1 has Mike Mercury on it. You will notice they do have the Region B symbol on there, but as we've seen, these actually will work in American players. We've got Dr. Beaker on disc 2, Professor Popkiss on disc 3, and then Mitch and Jimmy on disc 4. There's also a disclaimer here about the remastering process. On the back cover, we have a description of the series and another photo of the car. I'll read the thing in here about the remastering process. Remastering notes. Supercar has been ARRI scanned and restored at 2K resolution from the 35mm original black and white negatives in its broadcast TV aspect ratio of 1.33:1 or 4:3 for this new Blu-ray release. The remastering involved both automated and manual removal of film defects, correction of any major damage, flicker, and instability, and the optical soundtracks have been newly transferred and restored for each program. The original transmission effects only audio opening for the first 7 episodes has also been reinstated. And then there's also credits for network. At the bottom, there's a networkonair.com disclaimer there if you want to look them up. They do a lot of releases in England, a lot of which are, of course, of British TV and British movies. I'll read the description of the show as follows from the back of the case. It's the marvel of the age. Gerry and Sylvia Anderson's much-loved Supermarionation series has been remastered in high definition from original 35mm film elements for this Blu-ray edition. Intrepid pilot Mike Mercury takes to the skies in his fantastical jet-powered supercar, with Professor Popkiss manning the console and the eccentric Dr. Beaker providing his customary blend of erudition and genius. The stage is set for a classic adventure series that blends action, humor, and charm in equal measure. So like I said, Gerry Anderson had made shows prior to this, but this was like his first major, sci-fi Supermarionation puppet series, and it's where he really started to find his voice in the world of children's entertainment. I'm not going to say that this is by any means his best series, but it's certainly a premonition of things to come. I mean, you have Mike Mercury using the title vehicle going around rescuing people, so it's almost like the predecessor to International Rescue from Thunderbirds. And of course, you got a fun supporting cast, including the Professor and Doctor, and then you got Mitch and Jimmy that are there as well. So it does make for some interesting viewing. These earlier puppets, admittedly, I think do look a little more crude than some of Gerry Anderson's later designs, but you can see him finding his footing here. The model making and practical effects are absolutely gorgeous. Even though this is in black and white, it's still a very good-looking show. This and Fireball XL5 were both in black and white. His next show after that, Stingray, would be the first one that was in color. And I admit, sometimes these episodes do struggle a little to find their pacing, and I haven't watched every single one in here, but there are a lot of great episodes to be had. Some are certainly better than others, but fans of retro-style sci-fi entertainment or Gerry Anderson's work in general, I think are going to absolutely love this set. But how does it look on Blu-ray? I know a lot of times you get old series that are remastered and they still end up not looking good. I'm happy to report Supercar looks gorgeous on Blu-ray. This remastering effort is amazing. They've gone through and they've just, from what I can tell and from what the description says, gotten rid of all the damage. The picture looks sharp and natural. All the natural film grain, of course, seems to be intact, so I don't know if they used any noise reduction on this, but what I will say is it's a fantastic looking release of an old series that I'm not sure I ever thought would ever get on Blu-ray. Sadly, there are no on-disc bonus features other than some commentary tracks from Gerry Anderson on 2 episodes. There is a big deluxe box set that has some added swag, and that actually has an additional bonus disc. I don't know why we couldn't get that bonus disc here, but that's probably my only complaint about this set. If you're thinking about ordering this at all and you live in the United States, I would go ahead and get it. I mean, it plays just fine. All the discs play just fine after that region locking notice fades away after about 10 seconds. And then disc 4, it doesn't fade away, but you can just hit your top menu button and it plays just fine. So, a very highly recommended set. Are you a fan of the works of Gerry Anderson? Where would you rank Supercar in that list? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more content, as I'm always posting new videos. And be sure to give this one a like if you found it helpful. I'm Taylor T. Carlson. I'll see you next time.